Good morning. Good morning and welcome to First Parish in Concord. I am the Reverend Liz Weber. I am your Minister for Pastoral Care. And whether you are here in person, online at the moment, or watching later on YouTube, welcome to church. Welcome to a time for your spirit, a time for community. Thank you, Grace, and welcome. Grace Choi is our guest pianist today. That was beautiful. Thank you for being with us. On Zoom today, our chat host is Jan Power. So if you have any questions, Jan is here from our Congregational Life Committee, and she can help you out. Here in the building, we value accessibility, so I want to give you a few tips and pointers. If you could use a hearing assist device, our ushers in the back have headphones that you can borrow. If you prefer or need an elevator, you just go through the doors on any level and you'll find it back there. It takes you to whichever floor you need. The restrooms are down on the first floor. We have wheelchair accessible and gender neutral restrooms. We are glad you are here this morning. We're grateful to all of you for taking care of this community. To keep us all safer, masks must be worn inside of our buildings. Also, social distance, please. Our worship leader, choir, and teachers are all vaccinated. And we strongly encourage vaccination for everyone who is medically able, as this is one of our best tools for protection. Our choir will sing an anthem, and the congregation will sing our closing hymn. We are keeping the windows open to improve ventilation, but we are experimenting with closing them a little bit so that it stays a little bit warmer in here. Hopefully you'll feel that, hopefully last week and today as well. At the same time, we're continuing to monitor our CO2 levels, which is a proxy for how much air we're sharing with each other and how much air exchange we're getting. And we are optimistic that we can be both warmer and pretty darn safe, which has been true all along. Thank you to Rick Moore for being our air monitor. We'd like to remind you to stay home if you're not feeling well, even if you think it's just a cold. Omicron is sneaky that way. If you or a family member has tested positive for COVID, please call or email a member of the church staff. We're here for you for support. And if there's been an exposure at church, we'll let you know while keeping the privacy of the person who was ill. Together, we covenant to reduce our risk of COVID by each doing our part. Our call to worship is from Jan Richardson, Blessing in the Chaos. To all that is chaotic in you, let there come silence. Let there be a calming of the clamoring, a stilling of the voices that laid claim on you, that have made their home in you, that go with you even to the holy places but will not let you rest, will not let you hear your life with wholeness or feel the grace that fashioned you. Let what distracts you cease. Let what divides you cease. Let there come an end to what diminishes and demeans, and let it depart all that keeps you in its cage. Let there be an opening into the quiet that lies beneath the chaos, where you find the peace you did not think possible, and see what shimmers within the storm. Howard has our chalice lighting.
Each time we gather, we light a flaming chalice. It is the most central symbol for our faith. For us, it is a beacon. It is a lighthouse. It is a light shining in the darkness, something that we can focus on. And by lighting it, we know that we light a flame of truth and of justice, of peace and of joy and of love. It connects us to all other Unitarian Universalists and all people of faith. Please join in the response that's printed in your order of service or will appear on a slide on Zoom. O flame of our faith, open our hearts and fill our bodies and souls with persistent strength. Enliven our spirits and engage us deeply in this life of ours, this sacred, essential moment now. And now let us settle in with another beautiful piece of piano music from Grace Choi. Thank you, Grace. That was just the right thing to settle in on. I invite you to turn in the back of your hymnals to responsive reading, and I have to look and see what it is. 517, 517. And we will read it together. These are words by Starhawk, actually by Doreen Valentine, adapted by Starhawk. And I will read the regular type, and you will join Paul with the italicized. Let us read together. I, who am the beauty of the green earth and the white moon among the stars and the mysteries of the waters.
I call upon your soul to arise and come unto me.
For I am the soul of nature that gives life in the universe.
From me all things proceed, and unto me they must return.
Let my worship be in the heart that rejoices, for behold, all acts of love and pleasure are my rituals.
Let there be beauty and strength, power and compassion, honor and humility, mirth and reverence within you.
And you who seek to know me, know that your seeking and yearning will avail you not unless you know the mystery.
For if that which you seek you find not within yourself, you will never find it without.
For behold, I have been with you from the beginning.
And I am that which is attained at the end of desire.
Wendell Berry's I Go Among the Trees. I go among trees and sit still. All my stirring becomes quiet around me, like circles on water. My tasks lie in their places where I left them, asleep like cattle. Then what is afraid of me comes and lives a while in my sight. And what it fears in me leaves me, and the fear of me leaves it, and it sings, and I hear its song. Then what I am afraid of comes. I live for a while in its sight. What I fear in it leaves it, and the fear of it leaves me. It sings, and I hear its song. After days of labor, mute in my consternations, I hear my song at last, and I sing it. As we sing, the day turns, the trees move. I do love y'all. It's nice to be together, and it's nice to know that we can be together across all these different modalities. It's kind of magic to do church in the 21st century. Once upon a time, in ancient China, a wise farmer's horse ran away. His neighbors and friends came to console him. "What bad luck," they said. "Bad luck? Good luck? Who can know?" said the farmer. A few days later, the horse returned, and it brought with it 3 wild mares. His neighbors and friends came to celebrate. "What good luck," they said. "Good luck, bad luck, who can know?" said the farmer. Then the farmer's son went riding on one of the wild horses. The horse bucked, the son fell, and he broke his leg. The neighbors and friends came again, and they said, "Now you have no one to help with your crops. What bad luck." "Bad luck? Good luck? Who can know?" replied the farmer. The very next day, the emperor's army rode into town, and it conscripted all of the oldest sons in each family, except not the farmer's son, because of the broken leg. His neighbors and friends came. You might predict, they said, "What good luck?" And the farmer replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who can know?" This story is variously attributed to Buddhist and Taoist sources. We don't know its origin, but it's pretty clear the message. It's not good to get mired in our immediate reaction to life's ups and downs, perhaps especially its downs. We're likely to react more strongly and with less equanimity than we might if we could take the long view. But equanimity is hard. How do we cultivate it? The first thing to do is lay the foundation, spiritual practice. Do what we can to find our center. Spiritual practice can be prayer, meditation, a daily walk, a weekly worship service, or it can be something beyond these classics. Many different activities done with purpose and regularity can become your spiritual practice. It does take practice. There are so many reasons we will want to set our practices aside: temptations of busyness, not wanting to face hard feelings and get down to what's really going on, a sense of trying to do the thing but not doing it right. Anyone who's ever meditated will tell you that sitting down on a cushion or sitting down for a few minutes doesn't magically make our thoughts stop. The thoughts just keep coming, and that is normal. The practice is not to magically become enlightened instantly. It's to keep knowing that the thoughts come, and yet we can come back. Coming back to the present moment, the present task, whether it's watching your breath, looking at a candle flame, talking to God. The goal is to set aside your to-do list and create a space that resonates with your heart and soul. That image from Wendell Berry of the waters settling and having circles that just ripple out more placidly. You want to create a clearing for what is most sacred both inside of yourself, immanence, and beyond yourself, transcendence. A little bit of both. And when we cultivate this space, over time, we can face our fears and worries, release our anger and angst, and reconnect with the love that is our birthright and our core. As Wendell Berry says, "That which is afraid of me comes and lives a while in my sight. What it fears in me leaves me, and the fear of me leaves it. It sings, and I hear its song. Then what I am afraid of comes. I live for a while in its sight. What I fear in it leaves it, and the fear of it leaves me. It sings, and I hear its song." On top of this foundation of spiritual practice, we can cultivate equanimity by taking a break when we need to. Now, that might sound funny because at its surface, taking a break sounds like the opposite of spiritual practice. So be aware that I'm not suggesting it's one or the other. It's not like you either have a disciplined prayer life and you are so good at that practice, or you just run away from it all and take a break all the time. No, we need both. We need regular and intentional space for our spirits, and we need space to let go and have fun. My earliest formal training for ministry, before I even applied to seminary, was a chaplaincy internship. Usually, seminarians do this internship partway through their training after they've had some classes and perhaps mentorship under their belt. But I figured that ministry was a really big commitment, and that seminary with its time and money and study, was also a big commitment. And so I wanted to get a taste of the work and see if this sense of call that I felt was borne out by the real world. Spoiler alert, it was. So I did this first training as a chaplain intern at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston, and the work was good. But it was hard, and I had very little idea of what I was doing. I was tasked with listening to patients and families in an ICU and on a cardiac floor. And though most of my patients, nearly all, did heal and go home, I still was witness to a lot of suffering. Being sick is hard work. Several weeks into my internship, I was tired. All the stories I had heard and all the pain I had seen was too much with me. The theories I was learning were weighty, and it was all so new. I was building the plane very much as I flew it, hoping it would just stay off the ground. Now, the internship did include regular time for spiritual practice. I believe we had worship together as a group of interns. And there was space for deep listening from my fellow interns and good support from my supervisor. So my spirit was well tended, and I did love the work, but it was just getting to be too much. I called my girlfriend at the time, right at the end of a shift, and I told her I needed a break. Let's go out to dinner, I said, somewhere nice, and let's just have one rule. Neither of us can talk about work at all. We decided that we were on vacation that night. It was the shortest vacation of my life. I only had 15 hours until I had to be back at the hospital. But it was wonderful. For those precious hours, we pretended that we had no cares in the world. And somehow it worked. Taking that break was just enough to let me go back in the morning, refreshed and ready to keep going. Except for the brief lull before Delta, I haven't eaten in a restaurant in nearly 2 years. So I'm not calling anyone to go out to a fancy meal these days. My micro breaks more often involve getting out to a forest that I haven't been to in a while. Whether you feel refreshed from getting out at nature, looking at beautiful art, singing in the top of your lungs in the car, whatever it is, taking that break, that micro break, even of a few minutes, whatever you can get, or a few hours, it's a good way to regain your equanimity. Beauty and joy are invigorating. As Starhawk wrote, I call upon your soul to arise and come unto me, for I am the soul of nature that gives life to the universe. From me all things proceed, and unto me they must return. Let my worship be in the heart that rejoices, for behold, all acts of love and pleasure are my rituals. So having a regular spiritual practice and taking breaks as needed help us cultivate greater equanimity. And here's one final tool that I'll offer you. It's for in the moment. How we can stay in relationship when the going gets tough. First, get clear about what is and is not within your control. The Serenity Prayer from Alcoholics Anonymous is useful here. It's a good guide. You can say it with me if you'd like. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. When we know what is and is not within our control, we can better understand what's going on and decide what we want to do about it. During a conflict or even just a stressful situation, we often want to either run away or duke it out. That's a natural part of our fight or flight response. But instead, if we've got that foundation of our practice, if we've taken breaks as needed, hopefully in the moment we might be able to take a breath and just get enough spaciousness to follow what family systems therapists teach us as a wiser response. They teach us to be clear about our position, our priorities and boundaries, and to communicate that to the other person while staying connected in relationship with them. We want to be curious about what that person will say or do, but not get overly caught up or anxious about it. This process, and I'll say it again because it's a lot, this process is called being self-differentiated. So we get clear about our own position and communicate it to the other person while doing our best to be more curious about how they will respond. Being self-differentiated gives us a way to keep going through the muck to the solid ground that's on the other side. We can move forward with integrity, making a good choice that keeps us in right relationship with the people around us. This staying in relationship, as long as it's safe, is how we keep covenant. It's part of our lives in our families and friendships, but it's also core to our faith as Unitarian Universalists. How we are together is at least as important as what we're doing together. Good luck? Bad luck? Who can say? We cultivate equanimity by tending to our spirits, sticking with our spiritual practices to lay the foundation, taking a break from life's turmoil when needed, and keeping covenant with one another through thick and thin. The last word goes to Wendell Berry. After days of labor, mute in my consternations, I hear my song at last, and I sing it. As we sing, the day turns, the trees move. Amen, and blessed be. Our reflection question for you to type in the chat or confer with your neighbors, good luck, bad luck, who knows, figure it out, is to what part of your life do you want to bring more equanimity? To what part of your life do you want to bring more equanimity?
and more words from Wendellberry. The choir will sing Mary Alice and Peter Amadon's setting of his poem, Slowly, Slowly They Return, from the collection Sabbaths, also known as Great Trees. And you should have this text, those of you on Zoom, it will be in the chat, and those of you in the room, hopefully you have the piece of paper so you can follow along with the words of Wendellberry.
Just wonderful. Thank you to the choir. We come to a prayerful, thoughtful time in our service, a time in which we think of those that we are connected to and their lives, the joys and the sorrows that are woven fine therein. In a moment, you'll have an opportunity to either type their names into the chat or just say them at home or say them aloud here in the sanctuary, knowing that by doing so, we all carry them forth together. From the pastoral care list, Ginger L. celebrates her first grandchild. Wyant Alden was born to John and Summer on Wednesday, February 16th. His Aunt Priscilla, as well as his Grammy and parents, are filled with joy. Welcome, little Wyatt. Who is on your mind this day? Please speak their name aloud or type it into the chat. And let us join in humming along with Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Please join with me in a spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, we gather on a bright, cold February day, as aware of the seasons as if they lived in us. For every place has seasons. The Northern Hemisphere has winter, spring, summer, and fall. The desert Southwest has dry and hot and a little rain sometimes. The tropics have wet and hot and too much rain sometimes. Cold and dark to wet and hot, the seasons change with the changing year. Yet one season does not last forever. It is not always cold. It is not always dry. And for this we are thankful. We humans find ourselves at the changing of a season now. We find ourselves amid a great disruption. We know our planet is changing, warming, and shifting. We know the human suffering these changes bring. We know the political stakes are high as authoritarianism rises and rights are never ensured. We know the toll of living in a system that allows a few to be rich while many are poor. We know the exhaustion of a global pandemic, almost 2 years old now. Teach us to adapt, Spirit of life. Teach us to find our balance. Teach us to sway in the wind, but not be broken by it. Teach us to see beyond ourselves, beyond our own desperate needs, to the needs of others. Teach us to trust humility and grace. For we need grace, that unearned, unbidden, unexpected grace that comes when we cease to struggle so hard. That buoyant grace that holds us up when we realize we can float. That grace-filled relief that comes when we stop thrashing about. Send that grace to us, and let us see it for what it is. Grace is not resignation, it is not giving up. Rather, it is a recognition of what is and what is possible. Grace reminds us we cannot do everything. It reminds us we can do many things, but most of all, grace reminds us that we are not alone. Forgive us when we forget that we too are part of the interdependent web of all existence. Remind us to one another, to this community, and to its sense of purpose. Help us change with the changing seasons, renewing and refreshing everything as we go. Let us hold a time of silence together.
find a silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me in the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find a true harmony.
Our mission engages us to build community, to deepen spiritually, and to work for justice. At this time in our service, we offer a reflection on the ways in which our actions can shape the world. When we act in ways that support and hold beloved community, we are acting socially for the good of the whole. Sometimes this requires sacrifice. Sometimes it requires courage. Always, it requires love. This morning, our social action candle might just be an opportunity for some of you to engage in an act of courage. Family Promise Metro West is on a mission to transform the lives of families with children that are facing homelessness by mobilizing a diverse community to provide shelter, education, and comprehensive support. They serve low and moderate income families who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, and they welcome all genders and family compositions. Volunteer Dr. Michael Abrams writes, "My wife and I heard about Family Promise Metro West about the same time we learned our son had a high school community service commitment. So we volunteered as a family, as a way that we hoped he would discover the joy and the humility that's found only in serving others. That was almost 4 years ago. Our very best day volunteering was when our son told us that playing with the children at the daycare center was his favorite time of the week, and that he got much more out of volunteering than he gave. Some people go their whole lives without ever learning that lesson. And Family Promise Metro West makes it easy by allowing members of the larger community to each contribute what they can. We could not possibly be more grateful. More testimonials can be found on their website. I invite you to give generously this morning to today's shared offering, half of which will benefit Family Promise Metro West and half of which will benefit First Parish. You can text your gift, or you can go to the website to give, or you can mail a check to the church. We thank you for your generous gifts this morning. If you're online, please note how to give on the slide provided.
As we come towards the close of our service, I have some invitations for you. First, I invite you to read FP Weekly. Surprise, surprise. You can sign up for FP Weekly, which comes out on Fridays on our website. I think there's even a link in the chat. And if you're not getting it, check your spam filter and then go sign up if it's not there. A couple of highlights. Tomorrow is the last day to revise your directory information. Did you know we're doing a new directory? It's in FP Weekly. If you are someone who has received a call from me or Howard on your old landline phone that you never use anymore, and you have answered and said, "Why are you calling this number?" The answer is because that's the number in your directory. And that if you would like to give us your cell phone number instead, I would be so glad to have that. So please take a look at what you've got in your last printed directory and email Sarah in the office today or tomorrow to give an update. I also want to make sure that you are invited to this Saturday morning workshop, this coming Saturday, workshop with Mech Groot from our New England region of our UUA. This workshop is a whole congregation workshop. You'll see that it's called Leadership in Shifting Times, but it's not just for leaders. It's for all of us to think and talk together about who we are as a congregation, where we've been, and where we're going. So please feel warmly welcome. It'll be on Zoom, and it'll be good to see you there. Today, right now, if you would like to be in a small group to have more conversation about the service and what it brought up for you, feel free to join the worship sharing circle. It's on Zoom with the link in the chat after the benediction, and also here in person with Jim Snyder Grant facilitating today. If you're in person, it'll be on the upper level, all the way back in the Ripley room. If you would like a less structured time to be together, then coffee hour is for you. We have our coffee itself directly downstairs in the kitchen, so keep your mask on, get a drink, and then go ahead and bring it out to the terrace. And there's not that much snow. We can spread out a bit today. It's just a little beautiful dusting on the ground. Out at coffee hour, you will see Sarah Ballard, who's waving from our balcony. Sarah's here from the Congregational Life Committee just to offer welcome and answer any questions about our congregational life. We'll also see Gib Metcalf, who's also waving from the balcony and is here as a member of your standing committee to answer any questions in general, but especially about governance or about that workshop that's coming up. I'll help you get plugged in there. Let's sing together. Our closing hymn is in your gray hymnal or on the screen. It's number 83, Winds Be Still. Hymn number 83 in your gray hymnal. Good news? Bad news? Who can know? And yet, may you go forth knowing that you are beloved, that you matter, and that that foundation you build of equanimity can serve you well now and in the days to come. May you go forth with peace and love in your hearts, clarity in your minds, and assured that this community is here for you as you are here for it. Let us say together our benediction: go out into the world in peace, have courage, hold on to what is good, return to no person evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, honor all beings.